The brain damage caused by shaking a baby can last a lifetime, but the act itself can take only seconds. Sometimes even people who say they would never consider abusing a child find themselves doing it out of sheer frustration. But it doesn't have to be that way. KOAM's Dow Quake takes a look in his special report, Shaken Lives.
The contents of this suitcase can shake up perceptions. The Children's Center in Joplin takes it to schools, child development classes, and meetings of various organizations around southwest Missouri to demonstrate what can happen when a baby is severely shaken.
So in order to cause any kind of injury to a baby, you have to shake pretty vigorously. So we're not talking just getting angry and shaking. We're talking, and you'll notice kind of the back lit up, yes. But as you shake.
Wow. This represents all the areas of damage.
All the areas of damage. And when a child stops crying like this, typically they've stopped breathing, they're in a coma, they may have experienced death at that point.
Those few seconds of shaking would have damaged areas of the brain that control thought, emotion, dexterity, and vision.
All of those could have been damaged, maybe permanently, through that shaking you just showed us.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Most victims of shaken baby syndrome are less than a year old when they're most helpless and their brains are most vulnerable. But severe shaking can permanently brain damage a child as old as 4 or 5 years. The shaker, typically a male, young and inexperienced with childcare. Police say they hear the same stories over and over.
Sometimes we'll see the offenders take a role of no responsibility, and then on the other side of the spectrum, they'll just say they did it and give us an example why they did it.
What would be an example why?
The child crying, not stopping, being left alone with a child that they didn't want to be with.
The number one trigger for shaken baby syndrome is crying, and babies cry. That's the way they communicate.
The Children's Center's advice for caregivers frustrated by the crying: the basics. Check to see if the baby's hungry, needs a diaper change, is uncomfortable or bored. Sometimes swaddling, rocking, or the vibration of a car ride helps. If your frustration is too great, take a break, call a friend. If you can't stop the crying, that's okay.
Lay baby down and walk away. No baby who's ever injured or died from crying. And so if you are so frustrated that you feel like you're going to harm that child or you just can't stand it, lay the baby down and walk away.
You told me you like to spell also.
Yeah.
What are some words you could spell?
I don't know. Hot, H-O-T.
Very good.
15-year-old Tyler Ragsdale can never walk away from the severe brain injuries he suffered when he was shaken as a baby by his biological father. He's lucky. His loving adoptive parents, Mike and Carrie Ragsdale, chose to spend their lives improving his.
It takes a lot of dedication and courage and sacrifice to do something like that.
Yeah, it does with any child, though.
The message that I want to get out is once you shake your child, once you do that, the traumatic brain injury to your child, you can't take it back. It stays with that child for their lifetime.
For the abuser, for the new caregivers, for the child. Lives shaken forever.
If you think you might be tempted to shake a child, reach out. Counselors with a toll-free helpline can talk you through a stressful situation. That number, 800-392-3738. The Children's Center in Joplin can also answer your questions about child care. And the Centers for Disease Control has tips for soothing a crying child. You'll find links to those resources on KOAMTV.com. You'll also be able to see Dow's 6 o'clock report with more on the story of abuse victim Tyler Ragsdale on KOAMTV.com. A little later on KOAM News.